how sometimes you're stuck with a case that doesn't value businesses correctly, but you just have to figure out how to deal with it until someone finally appeals to get it reversed.
Well, and I think that this is in divorce, the professional practice is the most difficult one to value because it's reliant upon the business owner. How reliant is the question, right? But we have a lot of people that are like importer exporters. They're, sales people for distribution places. Like they are really going out and earning this money. And so a professional practice, I think that one of the issues in this case was that the trial court that you just said never addressed goodwill at all.
Right.
So even though this was a service LLC that was driven by this owner's labor, this was a central issue to the appellate court that there was no sound method used. Now, the interesting thing is that there's a whole bunch of complications that they don't talk about. And one is that when you're valuing a professional practice, you have to look at, is this income or is this an actual business asset, right? If I'm just have a glorified, like if I have an LLC that I'm just making glorified salary, right? And there's no additional amount available after I pay myself a reasonable salary, is there really a business? Like, is this just an income producer? And that's where we get into like the double dip. So you can only use the income for the business value or for the payment of a spousal support. Like there's a lot of things, but couples, when they go through the divorce process, they're like, well, but he's making $300,000, selling widgets for this company. There's got to be something with it. I encourage you to think, and I'm not saying that these things have no value, but I'm encouraging you to think, what are you selling, right? So if this person is an importer exporter, and a lot of times what happens is company pays somebody to go in and they get like big shipments through customs, right? So there's a lot of cash coming in and there's a lot because they're having to transfer it for, getting it through customs. Yeah, there's a lot of dirty work that happens in there too, bribes and stuff like that. Let's not talk about that. But at the end of the day, is that person just really making a wage? And are they making, they're making 300,000. Like that's a pretty good wage. But what portion of that would transfer? Like if Kelly came in and she bought that service business, right? Can I really go in? Like, do you know how to get things through customs? No, I don't either, right? So is that a saleable entity? Because I think we get distracted in divorce of like, I'm going to go after everything. And if a lawyer says, yes, let's go after everything, but there's no plausible reason, like the courts and the judges will still respond to logic and make sense. And in these situations, because they didn't address it, like maybe there were no liabilities, maybe there wasn't any goodwill, but it wasn't addressed. It wasn't formally acknowledged. It failed in the appellate courts. And I think that that's important. Like we get in the weeds of these valuations, and if we're not describing it adequately, it's going to fail. In this situation, they didn't have an expert. They were piecing it together, but it still failed. And it cost probably more than it was worth at the end of the day.
Absolutely.